speak to this august group here, so I'm anxious to hear. You're going to start out with a little intro and whatnot. And, so thank you very much for coming.
My name's Mike Sloniker, and I graduated with Bill from Oklahoma State in 1967. I went to the Army. We went to Vietnam. We both have 2 tours in Southeast Asia. The slide that's before you right now, a couple things to explain to you. First of all, if we use a term you don't understand, we need to know that. So raise your hand. Second of all, we need to let you know that it's a total team effort to make something happen. You're going to see helicopters, you're going to see jets, but they don't do anything unless it's the logistician that got the fuel there and the ammo there, the maintenance people that made it happen, the intelligence people that gave the information where you're going. There's all kinds of teamwork. So I don't want you to be oriented on just the aviator, because some of you can't go do that. It's inconsequential. It's just what's in your heart. So we're going to be talking about quite a few things today. And it's good to see the ladies in the audience, because at the backside of this we'll show you some accomplishments of the ladies. But like I said, we're Oklahoma State grads. We're number 13 in the basketball nation of the world. You, I believe, are number 5 or 6. And we're playing number 9 EMAs this weekend. So it's quite an education for us. We're so proud of the fact that we get to do this. And Bill and I have seen amazing things come out of the heartland of America. And that's why we want to come back here and do this. Last thing on this slide is that he and I see a big need to give back the best way we can. And so we're doing it the best way we can. We're retired, really retired. Retired Army, retired Air Force, retired Lockheed Martin Corporation, retired American Airlines. And we're doing full Social Security. Thank you for paying. And being totally retired, we're starting to understand real well who got us where we went. What we went to do and how we had the careers we had. And we are in the give back mode. We are giving back the best we can. Now Bill has established $31,000 scholarships. One of them is at OU. He had a son that went to OU Air Force. And then he's got 2 of them at Oklahoma State. I rearranged my will, so the $25,000 because of my will, to provide $1,250 a year to a cadet in need, not a scholarship one, but one in need that's got the real financial needs, because Bill and I are both shocked at what you're paying for this education. We want to do what we can. Now, $1,000 is about all we can pop a year, but that's what we want to do. We're encouraging other alumni to do this, and we're trying to set a standard to provide support to you, because he and I were not scholars. We didn't come roaring out of Stillwater with great degrees of, boy, how intelligent we are. We both had to draft right on us. We had to work hard. So we want to do the give back. So that's what I want you to know from this slide. Why is it up there? It's all about you. We want to help you. Okay, give me the next one, please.
Just give me.
Yeah, give me the clicker. Where do I point? Do I point at the, where?
Anywhere.
Up there? Okay, all right. Bill and I greatly appreciate this memorial that you put up that has the Vietnam veterans on it. During the time we were at school, there was some protests, not at our school, but at other schools. No, we left in '67. There might have been some in '68. But we appreciate honoring our fallen because we know what they look like. We know exactly what they look like, and I really appreciate this being up on the website so that I can see it and see what you're doing about it. And when I was told that you have a sentry stand by that on Veterans Day, I appreciate it, because you just really don't know what it means to us, because he's got Neil Bynum's bracelet on. He knows exactly what Neil Bynum looked like in '69 when he died. This is Danny Antrikian, an Army Special Forces guy. He died in '71. We know what they look like. and they didn't get to look like us, old and fat, with hair falling out. But we're happy, and we appreciate you honoring our fallen. Now, why are you different than your classmates that are gonna go get a job in industry? Why are you different? It's because of the oath you're gonna take. And that oath is a powerful oath. I remember distinctly, May the 28th, 1967, raising my hand to support the Constitution of the United States of America. I never forgot that moment. And that's the standard that goes to the people that wear the cloth in the United States. It's important. I spent 23 years in the Army, and my first day at Lockheed Martin, I didn't take an oath, that industry. I knew that I had to take training classes about integrity and honesty and that stuff, but I didn't take an oath. And it dawned on me right away, there's a difference here. And one of the benefits that you're gonna have over your peers, when you maybe quit and go to a second career, you're gonna have people skills. You're gonna know how to start on your own. You're gonna be a self-starter. You're gonna know what these standards are. You're gonna live to those standards. Employers look for those standards because you stand out. So it's important. What's really important is go to 20. Go to the 20. Then get the second career. We both went to 20, got the first retirement check in our 40s, then we went to the second career. He flew for American, and I did business development for Lockheed Martin and helicopters, sensors, and FLIR missiles, and special ops aircraft. So there's a standard that's set. Another thing that's a standard that's set that he and I agree on is something happens to you when you come out of the heartland. There's some standard that we have that's different than the East Coasters and the West Coasters. There's something different in us. And it's taught to us by our grandparents and our parents, and it's a standard of persevering and doing the best you can all the time. And it just seemed to be different to me. I mean, it's my personal opinion, but I saw that. Okay, I'm gonna go through these things that you should know by heart. But this is basically, to me, your word is your bond. Your word is your bond. You're gonna have people, that are your peers, that'll tell you one thing and do something else. And it's when you got the cloth in the United States on, and they do it, it's not good. It's not good. When you work in the military service, it's life or death. When you work in industry, it's profit and loss. Big difference. Big difference. That's why we're special. These are all over your hallways. I've seen them. I like this one because this is what have you got in your heart. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when it comes to time to do it? What is that? How strong are you? Are you going to be able to do it? Now, I'm not advertising this book, and I'm not saying you got to read it. Just going to bring it up. This book is called Damn Few by Rourke Denver. Rourke Denver was the lead actor in the movie Act of Valor. He's a lieutenant commander of the United States Navy. He's a SEAL. And I've assured the captain that I'm not trying to sell the book for the guy, but I got to tell you, in my service with SEALs over my lifetime, they're different. They're different, and it's their heart. You can be physically fit. You can be a tall SEAL, a short SEAL, Smurf. They call them Smurf, the little ones. But this book explained to me what goes on in a person's heart. How are you going to do it? And it goes back to courage. But I really, it's called Damn Few, Rourke Denver. I'm about this far through it. I'm still working on it. But it just answered the question, how in the world do they do that? And where do we get men like this? And we've opened it up to the women. Go for it. Go for it. You know, there's no standard to say you can't do it. But it all goes back to what's inside. How are you going to do it? The commitment thing is it's just in you. You're called to do it. You're called to do the commitment. What am I going to do? Bill and I get to see every 3 weeks, we drive to Vance Air Force Base, Vance Joint Base at Enid, Oklahoma, and we watch about 25 young lieutenants who are in the 50th week of 52 weeks of flight school, find out what aircraft they're going to fly. And then they've got a pretty strong commitment after that, how long they're going to stay in the Air Force, and how long they're going to fly these aircraft. And at the end, you'll see some of those guys. But that's a commitment. And operating the gun and being able to fly over it is really something. We saw a young lady that was from Oklahoma, who'd gone to a small college, and she always wanted to fly a KC-135 tanker. So she went to a small college and did that. Then she went to officer training school in San Antonio. Then when she finished that, she went to Vance. And the selection, she gets to fly the great big KC-135 tanker. She was excited. And it was just a delight to see that she wanted to commit to do that. Very exciting for me to see that. And she didn't go to an Air Force ROTC school. Rourke, Denver, is a Syracuse grad who decided as a Syracuse grad, Syracuse, New York, I'm going to go to be a SEAL. So he went to the officer training school. And when he finished that, he just knew for a fact they'd pick him to be a SEAL, but they didn't pick him the first year. So he had to apply again to go the second year. So it's perseverance, it's commitment. How bad do you want to do it? I like these Air Force core values, the way these are designed on the slides, because you see they're all tied together. It's the same story you have, but it's all tied together. There's not just one. They all work together, and it's part of, what am I going to stand for? When they see me walking by, what are they getting? Who is this guy? Who is this lady? And that's what makes you different. The bottom line is doing what is right. Sometimes you're going to have to tell the senior something the senior officer he doesn't like. Just do it. Do it as tactfully as you can and explain it. Just tell them. Just do it. Because political correctness sometimes the military doesn't do very well. You've got to, tell them how it is. I did that as a captain at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I told the colonel, it's like the emperor, you're naked. I told him that. And his discussion with me wasn't the one I wanted to hear, so I went to Army Flight School. It wasn't in the field artillery much after that, but I felt strongly about what it was I was supposed to say, and I said it. And I'm thankful today that I got that opportunity to fly helicopters. Service before self is the whole 9 yards. Service before self. One morning when I was at the Pentagon, this is not the body that would you think was a runner, but I was a big-time runner. And in the mornings I'd get there early and we'd just take off running up to Washington Monument and go back to the Pentagon. And I was running with a Marine Corps colonel, and this guy could talk and run at an 8-minute pace. And it just used to irritate me in the wind because I was just trying to breathe. And we were running, and it was kind of cold, and we saw a car go off the side of this road that's parallel to the Potomac and went in the water. And he just dived right in. And we didn't have cell phones. This is the time of these things we call bricks. They were big phones you could have in your car. You would see them in the museum, but that's what they had. And the colonel jumped in there and got her. And got the mother out of the car, the woman out of the car, and she was pregnant. And not worry, but to show it. He brought her ashore, and I helped bring her up. By then, somebody had contacted somebody in the ambulance, people were there to get her. And then we finished that. He said, well, let's go finish our run. Okay. And that to me is the most graphic example of service before self. I mean, he just automatically knew he was going to go in there and do it. There was no doubt in his mind he was going to do it. And he did. And it was powerful to see. You see service before self in these young people that are going to flight school. You see service before self and the commitment you make. One of the neat things you have in the United States Navy is service before self is the supply corps need. Because, the most unthankful job on the planet is to need to be in the supply corps because you got to provide the stuff and everybody's complaining. Supply corps got the food, they've got the logistics, they've got the transportation, they've got the finance. They do all this stuff. And anyways, the symbol you guys have in the Navy looks like a pork chop. And I know 2 Navy captains that were the supply corps officer in charge of aircraft carriers. And they talked about, we don't have to refuel things because it's nuclear, but we got to get bombs, we got to get gas for the airplanes, we got to get chow. He used to joke about the Air Force pilots. The fighter pilots, they're all thin and just macho, good-looking guys. And they would go in there and complain that there's not enough Diet Coke, but they would be eating the big slider cheeseburgers. And you say, oh, geez, but this is a tremendous career path for me to think about if you get supply corps, because it's so wide open for you for your whole life. And the guys that we always talk bad about are usually the guys that have the key to the supply room. So, you just do service before self automatically when you raise your hand. That's what it is. Excellence in all we do. And just sometimes you don't feel like it. Sometimes it's just not there. I tell you what, if you're a commissioned officer, you better be there all the time, constantly, setting the example. Because they're like little children, they're watching you. They're watching you every second. I was graced with the opportunity to command an artillery battery of an 8-inch battery, which is nuclear, an airborne 105 battery, and then I commanded a helicopter company. And I managed by foot. I walked around. I let sergeants do sergeants' jobs. I let warrant officers do warrant officers' jobs. And I didn't do their job for them. But I learned big time that if I didn't set the standard, it wasn't done. What gets done is what the commander checks. Now, in the Navy, you guys get these assignments as junior officers of people that work for you. I can't think of the term right now. Probably, is it JO or whatever? It's additional duties. Army gets additional duties all the time. Air Force guys get them too. You immediately get responsibility for others. They're watching you. They're watching you. You cut a corner, they know. So, but it's such a neat thing to be in charge. It just is. I like the Army thing because it's my service, but that last one, I'll never leave a fallen comrade. There's times you gotta leave them. And it stays with you. Did you do everything you could to get them? And sometimes you can't get them. And it's something that dwells on you. And that's why you go back to that other one saying excellence, 100%, all the time, best you can do. Just do the best you can do. And we do this stuff like this because you have to speak Army very well. And I'll show you that right now. Okay? I'm an American soldier, I'm an American soldier. The bottom. We're taught Army training. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. You always got to repeat it. I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier. And it's kind of embedded in us. There's a uniqueness with the guys that have to work on the ground. You Marines, if you go to flight school after TBS, you're always going to be considered a Marine infantryman. You Marines go there and get the gold wings of the Naval Aviator. Every time I turn around, you guys got your shooting badge on of what kind of marksmanship you were. And the Marines always take great credit in being marksmen. And with the Army guy, we're just a shade above the grunt flying the helicopter. And they're just ours. So there's a different perspective to it. It doesn't have anything to do with service, it's just something you get to see differently, and those are your people. Navy guys refer to them as shipmates. All the guys I know that are retired Navy, they refer to their guys as shipmates. And it's important to them, it's a term. But it's the same old story, it's just something we live with. This is amazing to me. In my lifetime, I've been able to see young men in Springfield, Virginia, who they're an absolute epitome of the word L-U-Z-E-R, loser. One went to college in North Carolina called Elon, and he failed. And then there was another one that, in this kid failed at every college he went to, and the ultimate disgrace in North Virginia was to have to go to Northern Virginia Community College, which is a junior college. This is a socially unacceptable thing to do if you're such the elite school system in Springfield, Virginia, that you have to go to a junior college. And it's just a mental thing because education is education. But this young man was just at the point where he just thought, numb, and we call it NOVA, Nova, Nova. He and I talked a little bit, and one day he went down to the Marine Corps and signed up. Naturally, his mother and dad, Air Force family, were stunned. Well, this young man at 6'3", 155 went down to Parris Island. And when they finished with him, He went down as a boy and came back as a 6'3", 155-pound man. This is a young man that was pampered, was all about himself. This is a young man that I learned from the Marine gunnies down there, the instructors. If flies get in your face, you don't bat them away. You just stand there. Mosquito bites you, that's a bite. That's astonishing to me. Fly comes by, he's getting it. But these guys were so immersed in the Marine Corps training that they had that standard. I'm putting that above me. And another thing that got me was some term that the Marines call the quarter deck. And anytime you were getting punishment, you went to the quarter deck. Push-ups, sit-ups, and the gunnies hollering at you. And it just turned this young guy into something special. He served 3 7-month tours in 2 7-month tours in Iraq, 1 7-month tour in Afghanistan. He was a 03 infantryman, bullet launcher, and he finished his Marine Corps career, and he works for the State Department now in security of embassies. Not as the embassy guard, but as part of the State Department. And I'm telling you, I would have never made a bet on it, the way they turned him around. And so when President Reagan says some people spend an entire lifetime wondering if they make a difference in the world, and the Marines don't have that problem, that's my buddy that did that, Kevin Powell. I mean, it was amazing. If you ever get the opportunity to go to the Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps Museum at Quantico, Virginia, and you walk in the front, there's a real Amtrak from Tarawa over here with mannequins by it. And to the right is an H-19 helicopter from Korea. And all around the top are the sayings, rings like sayings. And there's all kinds of sayings around there. It's a beautiful place to go, but don't eat the stew up there in the food court. It's not good. It's a long-term deal. You eat that. Maybe it's Marine Corps chop, I'm not sure. Okay, now we're going to talk to you. Our purpose is not to tell you war stories. Our purpose is to tell you core values that we saw. We want to talk to you some of the examples of it, some of the history of it. And Bill is going to really talk to you about the code of conduct and how he worked with it as a POW. But I said at the bottom, I'll leave no comrade behind, but whatever I have to. Right there, that picture in front of me is October 1970. To the top, under the tailbone, to the left is North Vietnam, to the right is South Vietnam, and the aircraft's over Laos. This is a special forces team of 6 men who got compromised, and we had to go get them. And there's 4 on the aircraft where the guy took the picture, and these 2 are on the back. The 4 in the aircraft that I was in was, they were mercenaries, nuns, they were Chinese mercenaries. And these 2 were the U.S. And the thing below it is a rope ladder with aluminum steps on it. And these guys really loved to hang onto that thing. They had D-ring things built into their gear so they could just hook on. And they would fly, you know. But you had to fly where they faced aft. Because if they faced forward at this 90 knots, they couldn't breathe. So they would face aft, and they really liked to ride like that. People look at it and go, oh my God. I mean, it's a different breed of cat. Just like this, different breed. It was neat to be able to have the instrument that you could fly to do that. In 1972, in April of 72, I was in my 21st month of 24 months in country. First was 12 months and 67 and 8. Second was 71 and 2. So I was at the end, and I'm thinking, I'm going home. I'm getting short. Short's the term, being close to leaving. I thought I was so short, if I sat on a dime, my feet would dangle. I was so short, you know. I'm going. Then all of a sudden, the North Vietnamese showed up. And I mean, what? What is this? It affected both of us. He happened to harass him a little bit close to the DMZ, but I was deep down south, about 120 miles from the capital city, Saigon, and they were down there. So they were coming into the country. They figured they could take it because the Americans were, most of them, all Americans were gone. The aviators weren't gone. And so during this time frame, I saw how much did our training of the Vietnamese work. And it was disappointing. And I'm talking about the helicopters, the Vietnamese Air Force helicopters, because we had to carry the load. And it was disturbing. And You don't go through the mindset of, this is a political disaster. You don't go through the mindset of, all this stuff was wasted. You're going day by day, day by day. What's the next mission? What am I going to do? And so as a consequence, we never thought about stuff that you're going to read about in books of history. We thought about the guys that were with us, and we would lay it out there for a person from the Army Republic of Vietnam, ARV and ARVINs. We would lay it out there for them because it's the mission. And another thing is that I got the tool, I can do it. And a lot of times, that was dangerous. But this city down below is blown to pieces by mostly artillery that they brought in. They came into the neighboring country of Cambodia and brought it up and brought it across. And we never got briefed they were there until we saw them, okay? This is down in the city. This is my view of the world, low. Bill's view of the world is high. And when the view of the world is low, there's a lot of detail there, okay? Now, in this picture right there, the people we supported were the advisors to the Vietnamese. And they were underground 60 days. The way you survived in that place was underground. And they would get out and do things, and the South Vietnamese soldiers down there were something to see. Once they found out that they could take the fight to the North Vietnamese, they did it, and they did it with incredible bravery. Now, I showed these slides to Lieutenant Dunes this afternoon, and I made reference to the little people. Well, they're little. You know, they're 5'4", 5'6", they're little people. And what I'm talking about is the Vietnamese. And like I said, if there's a term you don't understand, just throw your hand up. But during this period here, we were bringing in little people. The aircraft load on the Huey is 7 Americans, plus the crew of 4. The load with the Vietnamese was 11. So 5 aircraft could bring 55 guys in. That is not a unit on the ground. There's no unit that's 55 people. We were just getting the bodies in. And once we landed, we had to get out, so they had to run out. So we were just constantly bringing people in. One time I had to bring in penicillin because they were having lockjaw issues. Look up the Civil War, you'll see what lockjaw is. And there was all kinds of things that we had to do real quick. But this is a beautiful example of, you can't see it where you are, but I can see the Mark 82 500-pound holes where they came in to do some support. The Air Force has an aircraft called the AC-130. That's a C-130 with a gunship. It's a gunship with a 105 howitzer in the back and 40 millimeter cannon on it. The cannon is came from World War II, and it's extremely accurate. At night, the AC-130 kept the advisors alive because of the things they could see in 1972, the 72 technology. It was really an amazing time. But you know, how'd they get there? These things came in ships that went around South Vietnam to Cambodia, came in the port of, I believe, called Sihanoukville, and just came right up there. Somebody had to see them. I don't need to see them for the first time when I'm in the city. So as a captain in the Army at the tip of the spear, I was a little bit upset with the intelligence that didn't tell me that was there. Very upset. And the answer to me was, if we told you, we'd have to tell you our source. Wait a minute, I'm taking a helicopter. And this is a dichotomy that you need to understand. You need to really understand in the intelligence world, the guy that's doing the job needs the best information you can give him. Bill will emphasize that. It's just important. Now, unfortunately for this, what I learned from this is that when you take a peasant from North Vietnam and he's 18 years old, and you tell him to walk down to South Vietnam on the Ho Chi Minh Trail and get in the fight, well, some of them, they taught him how to drive tanks. The guy couldn't even drive a truck or a car. They don't, I mean, it's different. And so many of these guys that drove them, you know, you give somebody a piece of equipment, you got to teach a tank infantry team. The tanks were always outrunning the infantry, so the Cobra gunships and the other guys would shoot up the back end and knock the engine out. The thing would stop. And then the little people would jump in there and take out the gun crew, tank crew. And what was encouraging us is to see these guys fight, see the South Vietnamese fight, because they were in a surrounded city in a bad deal. And they fought hard. They did very well. But it always was astonishing to me because, you know, the guy in my right seat took that picture. That's a shot of our aircraft. This causes you uneasiness, you know what I mean? Top of the thing has a 51 caliber machine gun on it, but they never shot at us with the thing. I don't know why, no clue. And there are times you're gonna do a rescue. Some rescues are planned, some rescues are just, I mean, there's all kinds of things involved. And South Vietnam in my time was Army helicopters all over the place. And so we saw this C-130, we heard the C-130 come up on this frequency that you come on when your emergency, you know, whatever his call sign was hit, it's going to make a landing in the field. And we could see him smoking going down, so we thought, hey, let's go see what's going on. Poor Air Force guys thought this was a planned rescue. We were just there. In the left front is a Huey. In front of it, the crew walked out of it, got out of it, ran out of it, and we all took them back to our place. This is the frontal view. There's the helicopter, and this is a picture from the gunships that were Cobras that were on cover. 2005, all of us met at Little Rock, at the Air Force C-130 base at Little Rock, the Air Force guys and the Army guys. That's when they found out we weren't designed rescue, search and rescue, we were just there. And it kind of stunned them, because it's that thing about service before self. It's an excellence, it's a commitment. It wasn't so much courage, we were just excited to see what's going to happen to this airplane. The pilot was told, do not drop your load over the city of Manlock, and he was the only way they could get resupply. And he did it anyway. And they had 57 millimeter, 32 millimeter up there that burst near the aircraft, put holes in the wing and the fuel tank, causing the wing to catch on fire. And they got down. They didn't know where they were, but they got down. One of the things that frustrates me to no end is the times that we had the opportunity to rescue guys, we didn't get them. And this is Johnny Ray, Oklahoma State Army ROTC 69, and Johnny is lives in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma right now. And he was captured on the 8th of April, 72, and I was in the flight of helicopters there, and they never knew he was there. Didn't even know he was in Vietnam. Didn't know. When I talked to him recently, he said, yeah, I could hear you guys. That's frustrating. That's really frustrating. It all worked out. No need to dwell on it, but it all worked out. And these are the ones that were in Cambodia. I want to show you a standard here. This is just before release. Nobody's smiling. Nobody's acting like, boy, are we glad they let us go. None of that stuff. They are just about to be released. They were not in contact with the POWs in Northern and Hanoi, who set the same standard. And Bill's going to go through the code of conduct with you. There's a standard. Some people say, how do you act? There's a standard. You just, you know, obey the rule code of conduct and do the thing that is correct. And I was always pleased to see this group, you know, not jumping for joy, not showing favorite happiness to the people that were their captors. There was a difference in being a POW in Cambodia than in North Vietnam. It was better structured in North Vietnam than it was in the South. There's a lot of basic Army soldiers here. One of these released was a wounded Ford Air Controller, had to be carried in on a stretcher. But big difference. I was asked, what's this guy got in his sack? He made utensils. He made cups out of bamboo bottoms and stuff, and he just wanted to take his stuff. I think he had his hammock with him. He just asked him if they could take it, and he said, sure, you can take it. I don't know why. And they're back. After this was over, there was a lot of things in the papers about how are you treated. And down here is Johnny Ray from Pauls Valley, Oklahoma State grad. This is Wallingford, the enlisted man who was captured in 72 from Oklahoma City. In the center is an Army Green Beret that was captured in 68. He got pretty well tortured. They didn't really like those Green Berets. And he took a lot of beating. Johnny Ray was wounded, and it took a long time for them to treat him, but they treated him. And he didn't get any. And Wallingford was in the same time frame, April 72. He didn't get torture, so it was different. And Bill's going to explain to you and show you how far are you going to go, how strong are you going to be, what are the standards, what are you going to do. So I wanted you to see these guys. I love this guy. I mean, he's gone, but Clyde Stassen was a Navy helicopter pilot on the back of a cruiser. And they were out in the Gulf of Tonkin, standing by to rescue any people that went down. Navy guys seem to like to jump and get in the water. They ejected in the water. You know, there's an affinity to that. So they always want to try to get what they call feet wet and get and jump in the water, and then these helos would go get them. Well, this rescue was at night. Stassen was the #1 standby. Lassen was the #1 guy for rescue on that cruiser when this F4 went down. And so, you know, he's asleep. They ring the klaxon. He knows what it means. He runs to the aircraft. His crew's got it all set up. Off they go in the dark. And they're going to have to go inland to get these guys. Once they go inland to get it, to realize that we're stretching our fuel here. So we had to bring the power down on that aircraft. That's a really odd sensation in a helicopter when you come down out of the normal operating speeds and you bring it down. Because helicopter pilots are paranoid. They're paranoid. Vibrations make them paranoid. Sounds make them paranoid. Something different makes them paranoid. Did you hear that? That'll get you. And so when you bring that speed down on that thing, the blades are not flopping at the same speed. So you're having to adjust to something that's not normal, and they're going at night. And it was just a mess because the North Vietnamese were dead on this pilot and this radar intercept officer at F4. And they were escaping and evading. And Lawson just turned his lights on to find him. And then he found him. And then he went and got him. It's a crew effort because those crewmen in the bottom smiling had to reach down and pull these pilots in. And on the way back, they knew that they were really tight on fuel. So a Navy commander of another cruiser out there made the decision to bring his ship in closer and put it within range of the North Vietnamese artillery. And it was a good thing, team effort. Because Lawson put the aircraft down and they shut it down, and he had 5 minutes of fuel left. He wouldn't have made it back to his regular ship. So it's service before self, it's commitment, and really, honest to God, sometimes you just feel like you can do it. You just can do it. And that's what his attitude was. There were very few helicopter pilot Medal of Honors, 2 Army or medevac. There was a Super Air Force guy, Fleming, that got one in a helicopter. But it's just different. This guy, Doug Hudsow, is what I would want to have working for me if I had the beginning form of the Navy on it. This guy was a seaman on this cruiser, the Canberra, and Bill says he was a postal clerk. Well, he was curious. He's from Minnesota. You know, he's that farm boy. I have to go out there and what these guns are shooting. I'm going to go watch a gun shoot. Well, he should have been on the deck, and he was standing underneath the ones that were shooting, and he didn't know that. And so when it fired, he fell off the back of the ship. And nobody really knew he was gone for a long time. So they had a memorial service for him because he fell overboard and nobody knew who he was. Well, the Vietnamese got him in the water, and they took him to the North Vietnamese POW camp, one of those ones Bill was in. And this guy's a spy. They dropped this guy off as a spy. But the more they talked to him, they knew this is the farm boy. They called him a country bumpkin and all kinds of stuff, to their peril. So he gets into the camp, and he's put with Commander Stratton. Stratton is over here. So this Navy commander is paired up with an enlisted seaman. And sooner or later, they realized that the old country bumpkin's got a talent, it's a memory. So they taught him the names of everybody who was in there, 256 guys they could remember, to old MacDonald had a farm. So he knew the names of everybody, all 3 of their names. Michael Edwards Lund, all 3 names. And he didn't want to be released. They wanted to release him because he had no value to him. He was just a basic kid off a ship. There was no value to him. They just thought he was stupid. How stupid was he? This guy, when Stratton gets up to talk about being a POW like Bill does, he'll get up and say, my roommate killed 5 trucks in North Vietnam. Because they thought he was so dumb they didn't pay attention to him. He'd be sweeping, he'd be taking dirt and putting it in the gas tanks of the trucks that were parked out there that he was sweeping next to, and they had to tow the trucks away because they couldn't start. So Stratton always talks about, I didn't get any truck kills, but my roommate got 5. And when he came back, they debriefed him, and he gave all the names And this was the first confirmation for some wives, families, of who was really a POW, because the North Vietnamese were not honest about who the POWs were. It wasn't to their advantage. And he was one of the first that did that told them who was back. In 1970, in the summer of 1970, there were two of these Air Force jets called SR-71 Blackbirds. They're supersonic fast jets only for taking pictures. Now they're museum pieces. They're out in front. And they're high-speed technology. They're amazing. When they were on the ground, they would leak fuel. When they got in the air, they sealed up. They were extremely fast. And one of the first things they had to do when they took off was go find a tanker, get gassed up. They had cameras. And the mission in 70 was always to send two out of Okinawa to take pictures of North Vietnam. And so to back up, they had the second aircraft with them. So Lee's flying in, he's doing a camera check, he's near North Vietnam, all the cameras are working, and the wing is checking his cameras are working. And the decision is, okay, Lee, I don't need you, we can go, we're good. And the wingman turns and he goes back. Well, he accidentally had his cameras on. And all of a sudden we got pictures of American POWs at a place we didn't know they were, a place called Sante. So the decision was, let's go back and let's go get them. Huge force of people put together to do this. I was in flight school in 1970 down in Fort Rucker, Alabama, and we had to go down to Eglin Air Force Base. A lot of the training for these guys was done at Eglin prior to going. These were many, many Army Special Operators, plus all these crews. And look at the commitment here of aircraft to go do this. That C-130 there is an aerial one. They're refueling for the helicopters. The helicopters had the Army force in it. That's what I like about my service. Our guys didn't even know where they were going and what they were doing until they got to Thailand. And they were explained at a fighter base, I think Ubon or somewhere, Udor. This is where we're going, that's what we're doing. And it just speaks to me. Just keep them in a fine edge, and then we'll tell you what you're gonna do when you get there. And that's what they did. And they went in there to do this. And the beauty of this is the proximity to Hanoi. Okay? I don't know what it is, 20 kilometers, 20 miles. I want you to remember Phuket, this building I'm gonna talk about Phuket real quick. That's a fighter base. But these guys went in the dark to do the mission, and there was feints, there was Navy bomb strikes at night in another area, there was Air Force strikes in another area, so there's a lot of stuff going on. So the North Vietnamese had to figure out what's happening. Well, this force got in there, no POWs there, none. Is that a failure? I don't think it's a failure. There'd be a lot of discussion about the Sante raid, but people didn't go. But the bottom line is, we put a force together, and we went in there and did it. And what happened was all the POWs got put in one spot, because the North Vietnamese were believing their own propaganda they were reading out of our newspapers, that we were defeated and we couldn't do this stuff. And all of a sudden, we're in their backyard. So they had to do some consolidation and rethinking. So that's where that went. K-State grad, January '69, Roger Locker. Roger Locker gets shot down, and he's on the ground 24 days. He's the backseat of an F4, weapon systems officer. You can listen to his tapes on Google. You just go to Roger Locker. Because I took 2 of them and downloaded them in the iPod. This is a big thing for an old guy, to be able to get it into iTunes and then put it in the iPod. Because we're old, and iPhones are confusing. But we got it in there, and Bill and I listened to it going up. You want to learn about survival? That's what that is. You want to learn about going hunting in Nebraska and Kansas after pheasants and learning about the terrain? That's what that is. This man is a survival expert. He's an amazing human. Lives up on the Kansas-Nebraska border right now on the farm. Great man. But he was shot down. He conserved the batteries in his survival radio. He knew what to do. He knew how to find water. He survived on water and fruit. He went to survival classes at Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington, and to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. But he learned about survival. And when you listen to him on these tapes, you're listening to a man whose basic instinct is survival. And it's really something to see for me. I mean, when we listened to it on the way up, we kept thinking, somebody took him hunting as a kid and taught him about the terrain and taught him about basics. And it was really, it's really good. Now, this goes into decision making. When do you go get a guy? This guy's right up next to a big fire base next to Hanoi. And that's where he is. Who's gonna make the decision? The 4-star down there, General Hawk, made the decision. And they were briefing me thinking, it's one of our people. Let's go get him. 118 aircraft were committed to this. And they all went in there and got him. And brought him home. It only took 2 minutes to get him off the ground. Once they found him, boom, they got him and he was gone. Back home. The thing that's on the YouTube thing that I found, I think it's the Air Force website. I can't remember where it was. But it's, he's debriefing his peers immediately. Uman at the fighter base in Udor. He's briefing them immediately afterwards. So it's a young man, who's not a young man today, telling the guys exactly what happened. It's a great thing to hear. Because you guys are probably saying, well, what am I gonna do if I get in that situation? You hear what Roger did. And he briefed it right after it happened. So if he was 22 and 69, when he did this, he was 26, 27 years old. And that's what's the beauty of being in the military. The young guys have these bodies that are just flawless and will last forever. You can just be bulletproof. That's why we love it so much, because you can just do it. Because all we can do is remember it. Because we're both blessed with a 90-year-old brain and a 68-year-old body. But in our minds, we just know we can do it. Roger, that one set an example, and that was May of '72. I'm gonna get this book called Rescue Back 2-1, and I'm gonna send it to Lieutenant Nunez, because I saw your library that you used for reference for the papers you got right. The Rescue of Bat 2-1 Bravo by Darrell Whitcomb is a personal friend of mine. He wrote this book. This guy went down about 60 miles south of where Bill got shot down. But this guy went down, the guy's name was Lieutenant Colonel Hamilton. He was a navigator on an aircraft called an EB-66, which is a jammer. And he took an SA-2 missile, and he's a sole survivor. And when he went down, the rescue effort started, the planning started, all the intel started, everything started. And somebody made a decision, because that guy's right there. We're gonna put a no-fire zone around him. We're not gonna bring fighters or anything in. We're gonna go in and rescue him, so we don't want any interference. The 2nd Army of the Republic of Vietnam, the 2nd ARVA Division was in that circle. And they couldn't get fire support. They couldn't get fire support, because we were trying to get our guy. And this is the chaos. This is why that book's important to you as you write these papers that I'm told you write. What was the decision process to do that? Why did they do that? You know, why? And it was a lot of haphazard stuff by people in the command way south down in Saigon. Lieutenant Norris, the SEAL that actually did the rescue, was training the Navy, the Vietnamese Marines on weapons. And just happened to be there when they decided to use it. And he got the Medal of Honor for this rescue. But this is a rescue that cost 11 American lives, and 2 guys were POWs. And it's really something where you sit down and, when do you do the rescue? This book is written by an Air Force Academy graduate, 69. Darrell Whitcomb is a friend of mine, and I know the research he did on it. It's really, it's a thin book, okay? Got pictures for me, pictures of work. But it's really good. And what's the decision process? What do you do? What's the intel? When are we gonna go? And I recommend it to you, to the fact that I'm just gonna go back when I get back and have one sent to you for your library, because it's a good answer to a question. When do we go and when do we don't go? Hamilton was an older lieutenant colonel when he got rescued. He witnessed that Jolly Green up there, that Jolly Green 6-7 was blown away doing the rescue. And there's an audio tape of that. It's pretty pathetic to listen to. And again, it's one of those things where they're down, let's go get them. And the Army crew that was in the area was from an aircraft troop called Blue Ghost. And the aircraft was Blue Ghost 3-9. They went down to get them, got blown out of the sky. One guy survived, that's Sorga, and he was sent north to be a POW where Bill was. And it just was this one's a lot of error. There's a lot of error in this one. And I think you should know that.
You should see how it was done.
This is the funeral that was done in 97. I was at the Arlington National Cemetery. The special operators from Hurlbut came up with two MH-53s and did the flyby over the funeral site, and all the people involved in the rescue were there. And it was a pretty dynamic thing to see. But all these guys were missing in action. So we found some bones and stuff, and that's what they brought home for the funeral. Big closure for the families. But finally, we've got something, because they didn't have it for a long time. All right, this is the end of me talking. This is the missing man formation at the Air Force Museum in Dayton. Really something to see. I always was astonished back in I didn't really understand it in the 70s when these four fighters would come over and then one guy goes straight up vertical. Because they didn't understand missing man. And I'm not sure, but I think that's aircraft too. Because I keep hearing these guys that are veterans Air Force saying, two's in, I'm back. Am I right? Am I close? I don't know what that stands for, but that's what it meant. You know, we're back together. So I'm through rattling, and now you're here to what you came to see. And Bill's going to talk to you about code of conduct and what do you do and what happened to him. So here's Bill Schwertfeger.
Do you want to take a break? Make a pit stop? Everybody fine?
Let's stand up. Let's stand up about 5 minutes. How's that?